News that's coming in, it's the Israel-Hamas that have now agreed to a hostage deal. The agreement has been reached on the Gaza ceasefire. Phased release of hostages will take place next. Donald Trump has taken credit for the hostage deal. It is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu who spoke last evening with US President Donald Trump and thanked him for his assistance in advancing the release of the hostages and for helping Israel bring an end to the suffering of hundreds of hostages along with their family members. This is a big move being made by the President-elect Donald Trump. It is the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, who spoke with US President-elect Donald Trump and thanked him for the assistance that has been given in advancing the release of the hostages. Benjamin Netanyahu also thanked Donald Trump because he's helped in bringing an end to the suffering of hundreds of hostages along with their family members. Joe Truce, who's a senior research analyst, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, is now joining me. He's joining me from Portland. Josie, there are two things about it. First of all, we did see the war raged on for 15 months. So this is a respite for both the sides. And also, this is a big achievement for Donald Trump.
Correct. Yes. After 15 months of, more than 15 months of fighting in the Gaza Strip, we have seen, or what has occurred now is a ceasefire between Israel, Hamas, and other Palestinian terrorist organizations in the Gaza Strip, which is good news all around. I think, especially now for President Trump. I think the big thing for Israel right now is that they are going to be able to fulfill one of their war goals, which is retrieving or getting back all the hostages that have been in captivity in the Gaza Strip for more than 15 months.
Right, Joe, my colleague Gaurav Sawant is also joining me on the broadcast. Gaurav, this is good news coming in. We have seen how there are hundreds who have lost their lives and the entire world was actually jittery with regards to this war. Now, with this ceasefire coming in, there is hope that we will see some kind of normalcy settling in.
You're absolutely right. A lot of effort went into this, and President-elect Donald Trump had made it very clear that before he comes into White House, before his inauguration, this must happen or there would be hell to buy for all. And that seems to have worked. So, the Qatari authorities, the Egyptian authorities, Mossad on the Israeli side, and representatives of Hamas, they've had this series of negotiations where there was a representative of the Trump administration also part of these negotiations to ensure, one, that hostages were released. And so these are intense negotiations. This would mean that 600 trucks of humanitarian aid goes in every day, to Hamas-held territory in Gaza. Gradually, hostages would be released, and gradually, Israel would withdraw from the Gaza Strip. But it would be monitored, and all of this would be monitored very extensively by several stakeholders. So, one, it's a major step. Two, there are 101 hostages still in the custody of Hamas since the 7th of October terrorist attack. Several Israel has been able to retrieve. So unfortunately, some died. There were over 250 hostages that Hamas had taken initially. The implementation on ground does remain very complicated. How does this get implemented on ground? The modalities are very interesting, but then it's a very major statement also for Donald Trump incoming as the president. His inauguration is on the 20th of January. He said that it has to happen before I come to White House. So it just shows that everyone takes Donald Trump seriously in his second term. Step one taken, step two remains extremely crucial, which is the actual release of hostages.
Thank you, Gaurav, for putting things in perspective. Step one has been done. Step two is something which is very crucial now. The White House is now saying Israel-Hamas truce will be done in 3 phases. Phase 1 is a complete ceasefire, withdrawal of forces from Gaza, release of hostages, including Americans and elderly Palestinian civilians. they will make sure that they are returned to their homes. The second phase will be the permanent end to the war, releasing of the remaining hostages and withdrawal of forces from Gaza. The temporary ceasefire in phase 2 will become a permanent ceasefire. And phase 3, major reconstruction plans for Gaza. The remaining hostages will be sent back. Let's listen into what Joe Biden has said.
It's a very good afternoon, because at long last, I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. For more than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th, more than 15 months of terror for the hostages, their families, the Israeli people, more than 15 months of suffering by the innocent people of Gaza. Fighting in Gaza will stop, and soon the hostages will return home to their families. The elements of this deal were what I laid out in detail this past May, which was embraced by countries around the world and endorsed overwhelmingly by the UN Security Council. The deal is structured in 3 phases. Phase 1 will last 6 weeks. It includes a full and complete ceasefire, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all the populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages held by Hamas, including women and elderly and the wounded. And I'm proud to say Americans will be part of that hostage release in phase 1 as well. And the Vice President and I cannot wait to welcome them home. In exchange, Israel released hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. And during phase 1, the Palestinians can also return to their neighborhoods in all the areas of Gaza.